Mr. James Scarlett, we go again.
We do, mate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Honestly, I can't believe it's only been the best part of a couple of weeks since we last spoke. I feel like I've had a lifetime in between of highs and lows.
Yeah, you've had a bit of a fun week or so, haven't you? It's
Ah,
been a
it,
bit lively.
It's been mad. When we will get into it, obviously, to start this podcast, but between the absolute misery and heartache of what the night of salvation was for, and still kind of is potentially at this point when we're talking, we're still going to get that out there, to the highs of being in the Maybeshewill and Bossk tour bus and fucking living the rock star life. It's been great. But before we get into my roller coaster week or so, how about yourself? What have you been up to?
Yeah, things have been good here. It's I've started booking big style for 2025, so that's fun. I've made about 25 arctangent offers in the last 3 days for next year. I've sent you a couple of texts saying, Gav, how much did you pay for that band?
Yeah.
And you've told me. And I'm very close, maybe close-ish to having a 2000 trees headliner. We'll see. I think the agent's listening, so let's he knows I'm talking about him. Let's get that confirmed.
Are we talking one from the wish list or a left field one or the top of
no, I
anything,
mean,
anything you can say?
It's May 2024, isn't it? So we're on the wish list at the moment.
We're on the first page of the wish list.
yeah, we totally are. So I'm really enjoying band booking again. I haven't been doing this amount of band booking for a few months, and it's the exciting time because you haven't had your hopes and dreams quashed yet. You haven't had all the crap you've been going through with artwork and stuff. I'm just like in the, I can write Deftones on a piece of paper and no one can tell me it's wrong.
I can tell you, fuck off
until I email the agent. But yeah, so that's nice. It's a nice feeling. Talking of agents, we talk quite a lot about getting feedback on the podcast. Well, somebody rang me today, and they said, you've really pissed off this agent. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, this agent has been going around raging about you and Gav and telling everyone you shouldn't be telling the inside music industry secrets around.
Okay. What's it about? Something personal to him, or just like, oh no, but we should be talking about him?
It's not. There's nothing like. No, not personal to him. Just
or her.
I don't know if he's listening
then
today and he wants to come and talk to us about it. He can. I haven't told you about this, Gav. I probably should have told you behind the scenes and then brought it up.
I think it's now I need to know the name and
now you're shitting yourself.
Stuck in the middle of a podcast.
Well, yeah, it's just interesting. It's the first bit of negative feedback we've had where someone's got a bit upset. And actually, when we started, I was a bit worried that I was going to upset half the music industry. But it's been the opposite of that, hasn't it? So
yeah,
I don't really know why they're upset.
You know what? Sometimes folk take. You know what? Maybe there's something. I mean, I entirely disagree. I think there is a lot of lines we could cross, and I don't feel we've crossed in them. If you think everything we could say on here and the spill of guts, but everything that does go on and naming names and bands and when we've been shouting at, it's like that's not what happens. And even when we do go close to the bone with some subjects, we leave the names out because we're not here to a lot of it's done in good jest, and we've said, especially when it comes to agents as well, these are good people. We just work at the different other side of the fence. So I'm a wee bit surprised at that. I have now spoken to a dozen or so agents. In fact, I get a lot of people that I don't even work with that often who message and or email and say, listening to the podcast, absolutely love it. So I'm not sure what we could have said, unless it just means in general terms. It's like,
no, I think it's a general thing.
Do you know what I don't like about that? What I don't like about that is like, I do feel like the industry has gone for all these years and people have got a lot away with a lot of stuff because it's not spoken about. And I think that's the reason why 99.9% of the people who have listened to it that are in the industry have quite enjoyed it. And even when we had Tom Taff on, it's not like, look at you two guys. I mean, he's a big agent. He deals with big bands. He never came and said, oh, you guys are going too far. You're causing harm for anyone, because that's definitely, if anything, we're giving a bit of insight to a lot of bands and new agents sort of like, right, okay, that's how the industry works to this level anyway.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say because I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm a wee bit disappointed with that. But ultimately, you're never pleasing everyone.
No, No, maybe we'll invite them on at some point, and we'll have a ding dong with them.
They
But I
get-
thought it's not. It's good to get different types of feedback sometimes, isn't
No, it's good just to get. It's just good just to get positive feedback, I think.
it? So, are you gonna talk to us about your last couple of weeks?
Right. Well, we'll do the Bossk and Maybeshewill too. I don't know if for those watching on YouTube, you'll see the signed Bossk and Maybeshewill poster
He's already got it framed.
already framed and behind me with my AAA that they were kind enough to give me when I showed up. So last Tuesday, my wife had been away to Santa Ponza with a friend, and I had been daddy daycared up to the eyeballs. And so when she was due back, I was like, this was Tuesday last week. Tour starts on the Wednesday. I've been really keen. It's not coming to Glasgow, so I was missing two of my favourite live bands and two bands that I'm very friendly with. And I was like, I could still do this, eh? And Big James lives in Bristol as well. I mean, it seems too good to be true. So, being me, I jumped on EasyJet and booked a flight to Birmingham. And realised the second I'd spent the 70 quid or whatever it was Birmingham and Bristol are not the same place. And when you go into Google Maps, they're also not very close either. So I had a bit of a panic scramble, owned up to the internet, which has caused a lot of people a great laugh.
Yeah.
Although, in line with what you were saying there about agents, somebody did come on, like a punt on a damage. This is not the kind of thing you should be discussing. And I'm like, the fuck are you to tell me what I should be discussing?
Well, they were moderating your own forum.
Yeah, I don't know if it's about like, well, if you're going to act professional, I don't think you should be owning up to the fact that you went to Birmingham instead of Bristol. Like, fucking calm down. So I end up, it turns out if you've booked a flight to the wrong place, £49, and you can get it changed to the right place. And the price of the Bristol one had gone up too. So like the flight was originally going to cost me, I don't know, £60, ended up being about 150. But it was all worth it. Arrived in Bristol, got to the venue, the Fleece, saw the bands. They were all in that first day, a state of getting everything sorted. So you kind of feel like, you know what I mean, a sore thumb when you first got it. Didn't help that you decided to stay in your house until like fucking 8 o'clock at night.
Mate, I was I went out for lunch with Bossk and Maybeshewill that day. You were late. You were in Birmingham.
I was in Birmingham. I was getting my way down for that. So I got there. Our good friend Miles. I don't know if Miles is any longer speaking to me because I was slagging his basketball top for the whole night. So I hope we're still friends, Miles. It's always in good jest. Then went for dinner with Maybeshewill. Enjoyed that. Then you showed up with a couple of drinks and we watched two fantastic sets.
You took me on your tour bus, didn't you?
Oh, that's right. So
you took me on like it was your tour bus. There was nobody else. Both bands were in the venue. And you sat on the tour bus. And
I was expecting someone to be, because at that point, none of the bands were on yet. So I was expecting somebody like the guys just to be getting ready and be like, oh, here's James. He was like, oh, I'll get this magnificent tour bus all myself. Right, James, this is the lounge. So that was a lot of fun. Bossk were incredible. It's odd hearing Lyra live. Now, I've heard that snippet, the intro, if you've listened to this podcast and you've done it 17 times down, I've done it 17,000 times every time myself and Briar putting clips together. So to hear that live was a wee bit odd. And then to hear it live standing beside you at the same time was even fucking mercenary.
Yeah. It was weird watching Bossk stood next to each other because me and you spend so much time on here talking, but weirdly in front of other people because it's a podcast.
Aye.
I kept wanting to talk to you, but we were stood like second row in front of the stage, weren't we? It's like you can't really have
these huge Bossk guys just fucking smashing your face. Like, so how's your week been? The family good? Yeah, yep. So that was great. We went and had another drink and I said, oh, can't wait to get, I absolutely love Maybeshewill, cannot wait to restart. You went, they've started. It's like, oh shit, run back into the venue. They had a blinding set too. Good turnout. Yeah. I mean, I thought that's a good venue in the Fleece. That's the first time I've ever been there. And I enjoyed it. You guys use that venue often?
Yeah, it's a proper rock venue, isn't it? It's stone floor. It's got the pillars. There's like there's a lot of history in the Fleece, musical history. So yeah, it's well, I really like it there.
Aye. And in between, this is fucking one that they owe me back. So they said, we're going to get some merch shots. Miles, stick on a t-shirt, so Miles way up there modelling, and then they've got Simon, the lead singer. And he's actually a handsome guy. Miles is relatively handsome as well, and his own funny BB. So rigging up, so they got right, Gav, and I've just shaved my head, right, so I'm already feeling a wee bit self-conscious about it. So I'm saying, right, okay, I'll put a hoodie on, you can get a picture, but just the hoodie. And I of course, Gav, just the hoodie. I said, I don't want my face in it. The last time I wanted to get fucking ripped by the internet. So there you go. I should have known when the photographer says look in that direction. I'm like, why? What difference does it make?
Mate, it's a good photo. You and Miles are now the Bossk model. I was quite
So,
jealous.
like, when people in those days, well, as well, by the time I'd come back up the road, that photograph was printed of me looking all serious into distance. And because I'm looking serious into distance, my claim of I didn't know my face was going to doesn't really hold much water.
No, it 100% looks like you're posing, just to be clear.
But I mean, it's funny on the internet or on for the metal community, the damnation. They're like, oh, there's Gav. But my lifelong friends also spotted it, and they don't know what fucking Bossk is. They barely know what Metallica is. So in my group WhatsApp chat, my lifelong friends is now the group picture is me.
Yes,
me standing over a distance and just getting destroyed. I can't
You've
even
got like a pensive look on your face. You're really deep. You're really deep in thought.
So thank you, Bossk, for that. I am now the laughing stock of my lifelong friends who have no fucking idea who Bossk are or why I was doing that.
Amazing.
And that first day, so then you cleverly disappeared. And I ended up in a pub in Bristol that's across from a church that's open till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, I think you were in Paddy's new place, the Coliseum. I hear.
Coliseum. So
Yeah.
this time it's chaos. I mean, everybody's fucking all the guys that have played are all high as a kite because they're like, yes, we just played. This is fantastic. The tour's got off to a great start. I'm just loving the fact that I'm there with these two great bands. And then we're back to the tour bus. It was like fucking 6 a.m. I was like, by the time we got into Nottingham, and it's like, oh my God, we need to call this. This is going to be rattling. Into bed at 6 a.m. which would have been taking me. Oh, in fact, that would have been the Wednesday into Thursday. The reason I know it was exactly 7 minutes past 6, because that had been the Thursday morning when the podcast came out, and someone had messaged the Two Promoters One pod page to say, it's not up yet on Spotify. And I'm like, fucking hell, man. It was 7 minutes. I mean, I don't control Spotify, so I'm sure it'll be there soon. Went to
I'm sure
bed.
you're really on it by this point as well.
Fucking, I mean, pashed. Went to bed. Then got up, which I'd even fucked up the YouTube one as well, but this is which I'd done beforehand. People were posting the time I woke up to say the YouTube one never came on at 10 because I'd set it for the wrong day. So that was a ropey first day. And then I'm looking outside, we're in Nottingham, up from Rock City. But the bus is actually nowhere near, it's at the top of a hill. So I'm just hearing the guy starting to load it. I says, fuck, I better get my shit together, go down and help them load it. It's raining. Everybody's miserable at this point. I was like, we were not laughing just a few years ago, but we're all raining. The fucking loading's terrible. Basically, you get a choice of carrying or loading up like a cage, but ultimately you're going downhill. So that's not very safe either. So you're like, well, this expensive gear, go downhill in a fucking cage or just loading the stuff in like that. So done that. I went back to the bus. I think the guys must be doing. I ended up in a fucking tour conversation with the bus driver who was telling me about how Axl Rose likes a bath on his bus, but you can't start the engine if the bath water's in, and Axl Rose wanted the engine to start. Like, oh, fuck's sake. This is a fucking bad dream. I done that for a bit. Have you been in Nottingham, like the city? Have you been about it?
Yeah, because I grew up in the Midlands, so Rock City was one of the venues that we either went to Nottingham or Wolverhampton to see gigs when we were kids. It's still like an hour away, but yeah. So yeah, I've been on one of the 2000 Trees organisers had a stag do in Nottingham. So basically, I've either been to a gig as a teenager or I've been on a stag do. That's my Nottingham knowledge.
Oh, man, it's a great place. I tell you what, I've never had a weirder night of being Gavin McInally than in Nottingham. So I kind of get my shit together, found a second wind. I was like, somebody on the internet said about going to Tap and Tumble. I'm like, I'm going to type this in. It's going to be 6 miles away, isn't it? It was like 230 yards. I was like, oh, here we fucking go. Walks into this place, Tap and Tumble. It seems like a lovely alternative pub. And then goes to the barman and says, can I have a pint of cider, please? And he goes, no problem, Gav. I'm like, he goes, I enjoyed the podcast this morning. Like, fucking hell, man, this is a different world. Sat down to have a drink. Guy, one of the crew guys, Barnaby, came down, had a chat with me, and then for the first time ever, not only one woman, but two women bought me a drink. Two fucking women bought me a drink, which does more than my personal best, is two more. Because I think I've never been bought a drink before, never mind buy a woman. So, and one of them was like the manager of Evil Scarecrow, and the other one was friends with the folk who run that big Nata festival in Nottingham. So, massive thanks to both of them for coming up and saying hello, saying they enjoyed the pod and buying me a drink. And then it just got weirder. I went round to the venue, ended up with a guy up Simon for Uprising, and I was that drunk. I gave him a business plan for going for his future festival and why you should go to
helping other festivals again. Right.
Like, you need more of an identity. You need to go with the power metal direction, right? I'm fucking recommending music I don't even like. So it got wild. At one point, I was answering a question. I explained to a guy why you didn't answer his Glassjaw question. This guy, I think Rob, who is like an Art Tangent devotee, but it doesn't come to Damnation. And I'm saying, James didn't know about what Glassjaw played that afternoon. And he's like, oh, right, understand.
So that question keeps popping up, doesn't it? And
I tell me about Glassjaw. It's like I don't know. We spoke beforehand, and James said he had nothing to offer to that question.
Yeah,
so
I have got no interesting answers to that question.
Back to the bus. Another 6 a.m. in the morning effort. Got up Manchester, and I've never been so happy to run away from a situation. I packed my bags, gave a farewell wave, and ran to the train station. Got home.
So I was expecting you to stay for Manchester because it's where Damnation is. And
I'd love to. You know what? I had shit to get back to. I had said to one of my daughters had horse riding that night. My daughter had a dancing show. My son had a game of football next day. It's like, you know what? Daft Gav probably would have. I'd stayed a couple of extra hours in my bed. I'd have got Manchester would have been brilliant. And by that point, I said, well, we're 3 days in. Let's just do Leeds and London. So I'm glad that I had some sort of responsibilities and I get back on the road. So my signed poster in hand, my Bossk hoodie, and some tour tales. It was funny because the last week's pod, I said I would be a tour manager. It was like people were texting going, you still fancy that, Gav? I'm like, no, I'll never go back to a tour bus in my entire life.
Thing is that it's, you know, you're 6 a.m. and presumably you weren't sat there on your own. So there's at least one or two members of the band with you, and they've got to get up and do a show, haven't they? So they got to load in, they got to sound check. It was a
weird insight. I mean, the professionalism understood, especially with those bands. I mean, I completely understood that. Just the work that was in the loading, that you're loading that all in, and then that's just the start. Then it's building it all. Then it's the sound check. Then it's the bit you enjoy, the high of the show, being there, big crowds, people loving your music. But then afterwards, that when you probably want nothing more than to just go and pop a bottle of champagne and go on your tour bus, it's the loadout. And Nottingham Rock City is 1,000 teenagers are trying, with no clothes on, are trying to get into Rock City, and you're trying to load out fucking cabs between them, you know what I mean? So the work that those guys put in was unbelievable. And I had to laugh to myself when I was thinking about it, like, was it Saturday or Sunday night? I was like, they are still actually out there. It was only a 5-day tour, but it added a couple of years to my life. And I was like, but it was great. It was great. I mean, thank you so much to both bands, because I mean, they didn't need to. Like, I mean, I could have just got a Airbnb somewhere in Bristol and phone back up the next day. But they're like, no, fuck it, there's a bunk there, you can jump on. And they would have had me there until London. It was my escape plan to get off that bus before I killed myself or some of the band members.
Mate, I'm really jealous. That sounds amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I'm going to go on the next Bossk tour, I think.
Yes.
We've asked Tom Begley to be our tour manager for Damnation. Just even though I'm not in a band, to get us a tour bus and bring me and my friends to Damnation.
So, and what would his role entail other than getting you a bus?
He's got to deal with you. He's got to make sure we get power and showers in the venue. He's got he's got to sort the bus out. It's a pretty easy deal, and then he's just got to be fun, which he is good at being fun. So,
fuck, I mean, he is a guy who enjoys. If anyone's on his social media, you will see how much he enjoys it. I mean, genuinely enjoy it. We've all got different levels of how they like to tour. And in that short space I was with them, some are more let's get to bed and up the next day we're going to have, and some are a bit more like Tom Begley, who's like, I am with my friends. This is going to be a very short time, and I've been looking forward to this for the best part of the year. I am going to milk every last second of it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he will add another layer of madness to the damnation experience, which
Yeah.
is the
I mean,
one time I don't. 'Cause when I'm talking about my lifelong friends, they are mental. I mean, I am like a choir boy compared to them, and they came to Damnation 2014 was the last time I let them in, and they were using the stage times to see when bands were on stage so they could go to the dressing room and take the beers. You know what I mean? I'm like, they're my fucking beers, mate. I paid for
yeah.
them. You're just stealing from me. They're like some band called Vylan Fire. They sound like they should get their beers stolen. So they've never been allowed back since. Aye.
Yes.
So
I love it.
Tom's one of the boys. So aye, is your other than that fantastic night in Bristol, is your week been a little more subdued?
Yeah, good. I mean, apart from band booking this week, I've done quite a bit of security planning for Arctangent. So yeah, that's like a very different part of the world. But I do this I have to do this spreadsheet, which it's like the Clashfinder spreadsheet, color coded, red, amber, green.
Yeah.
Red being like Dillinger escape plan. You best get some security here. They're going to climb and jump off shit. And of course, Greg is playing Arctangent this year in Better Lovers, at 2000 Trees in Better Lovers. So that's quite cool. And then I have a security meeting to just like to brief them and just like just sort of talk about where security going to be, what are the things we're most worried about, and yeah, I mean it's pretty. To be honest, our 2000 Trees and Arctangent are like their favorite gigs. They don't really like the music, but they massively vibe the crowd. They're just like, this is the nicest crowd. So
Yeah,
it's pretty easy.
Yeah, but I mean, we get I mean, as chaotic as a damnation crowd can look, the security are like, this is a different world entirely. Like, we love these people. You don't need to force people back when they're trying to get into VIP areas. You don't need. Said like last weekend we had a guy who was topless at 4 a.m. running about trying to hit us with a fire extinguisher. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens. Too many disco biscuits at a rave. Whereas damnation, they'd be like, you know what? There was one guy slumped to the corner, said too much pizza. I mean, but that's about as mental as it gets. So I can see, I can understand why that vibe would be like that for the security, because you do get. I mean, especially when I'll go to an indie concert, and I mean they can get rowdy. I mean rowdy. I don't like people don't really like violent. I mean, you get those
Yeah.
people that just go there, but that's almost like football casual mentality. You know what I mean? That you can sometimes just be looking for a fight, but you don't really get that as much in the alternative community.
No, you really don't. I went to see Muse a few years ago, and there's such a crossover into just like more commercial audiences. Probably people that are going to one gig a year, and it's Muse, and it was hilarious. In front of the stage was lively, not in a moshy way, just in a like people want their own space, but you can't have your own space because it's a gig. So yeah, it's a bit lively, but yeah. So yeah, really, my briefing for the ATG security, the number one most important thing is to smile at the audience and just be nice to them, for as long as you can. There might be the odd idiot, not many though, and yeah, it's in fact my main thing I said to them was, so last year I went to bed on Arctangent Eve, the night before the festival. It was Tuesday night. I was in a caravan, went to bed, feeling really good about the festival, and was trying to get an early night. So I was up and on it for the next day. I got a phone call from a security guard, and he says to me, "Yeah, I'm manning the gate, and my mate's manning the other gate overnight. We're overnight security. We're stopping anyone coming onto the festival site." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Why are you ringing me? I'm asleep." And he's like, "Oh, we've only got one car between us." And I was like, "Okay, what's your point?" And he's like, "Well, we need a car to sit in because it's cold." And I'm like, "You don't need a car to sit in. I'm like paying you to be there. And why? Who gave you my phone number? Like, why are you ringing me?" And basically, he rang me another 2 times that night to update me. And the final call was at about 3 a.m. and I was really pissed off. And it was to tell me that they'd given up on one gate because they only had one car between 2 gates. And every hour they would move the car. So I'm like, what? So this gate's completely free of all security for an hour, and then the other gate is for an hour. It's like, you fucking clown. You're kidding me.
It just shows you the things you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so what I was saying to our security company was you did a brilliant job last year, but who the fuck were those two on that first night? Because that was a disaster.
Aye, can't be getting phone calls through them all.
Well, yeah, it's just like when you're trying to get an early night and you're being woken up. Anyway, so yeah, just a different part of the job, the security planning, but it's one of my many things that I do.
As you listen to this, so this will be Thursday the 23rd, I think. The night of salvation, damnation's first day, which some people just refuse to believe isn't one day of damnation, but it is a separate pre-event. It's ticketed different. We book it different. It's that should now be on sale. As you well, saying this, if you're one of the people that are looking for the podcast at 7 minutes past 6, it won't be yet. But if you're normal and you're listening to this like the afternoon or early evening, it should be on sale. The bands should be announced. The bands that are already been announced on the forum, sort of exclusively in the forum last few days, have been LLNN, who, what a reaction to them. What a reaction to them.
Yes.
Mizmor, are you a Mizmor fan?
I don't know them. Well, I know of them, but
you will be.
That's not like me saying I don't like them. I genuinely have never,
you will be. It's
listened.
like it's black. It's interesting black metal. You know, it's like right. It's Roadburn black metal. If you know,
amazing.
So you'll definitely get. And then these guys haven't been announced yet, but they should be announced by the time you're listening. And it's Insanity Alert, who are the Austrian thrash. Fun thrash band, you know what I mean? They're the type of people that inspire you to dress up as Pikachu and run about in circles, and they're doing this set that's half covers of like 80s bangers, like Queen hits and that, and also some tracks from the album Speak English or Die. You know what? The name of the fucking thrash band completely escapes right now. As soon as we finish this podcast.
It's SOD, isn't it?
Yes, Soldiers of Death. What good save,
guys.
Good save.
No, I think what we're going to have to do is say that my metal points are basically higher than your metal points. Yeah? The organizer of Damnation Festival.
It's Stormtroopers of Death. It's Stormtroopers of Death. Yeah. And it was. How did you know that? That's you,
mate. Because I'm fucking metal as fuck. I think
that is some save, by the way. So they're going to play some covers from the Stormtroopers of Death, Speak English or Die, and they're going to do some Queen and fucking The Cult and whatever else in there. So it's going to be batshit mental, and it'll be a nice mix. A nice mix between the blackmail and that's just the first three. Hopefully by the time this is out, and man, I've had a shit show trying to get this organised, so I'm not saying anything else in this podcast. I'm telling you 6 bands have cancelled between Tuesday and Thursday. So it's a great start. Tickets were already flying last night, only through the forum. So thank you to everyone on there. I mean, the support for that place is phenomenal. In fact, I actually had an agent get in touch with me and say, well done with that place. It's different. I mean, it's different from the internet. It's
a great community.
You just don't see that level of support and positivity across the board. So that's been amazing.
Your answer to questions is incredible. Like, you write long answers on there. It's like, I was reading one today and I was like, fuck me. He's properly putting in the time there. Someone's asked a difficult question. You're going to spend the time to...
because you don't want to, because you know what as well, like that's not a place where people are just out to get you, but that can also happen. So you want to try and answer it at that point, like, I'm also thinking your plan B and C that you might follow us up with. So this is where it's at. And also, as I explained to that agent when he said that place, that it takes time, you need that. And it was weird because we were in Bristol. That's the first time I've been in your company since this podcast. So when people come up and saying hello, you're definitely like, why is this person speaking to me? Not even in a rude way, but just in a sort of like, who, me? Like, you're going to have to start getting used to this, James.
Yeah, you're more affable than me, aren't you? I'm a little bit, yeah.
You're a friendly big fucker, but I maybe take a wee bit of time, or you're going to get absolutely battered at trees and that tangent. So please get used to it. Please get used to it quickly.
I'm ready.
Talking of 2000 trees, that will be the focus of this episode. I know we've kind of gibberished on there for a wee bit, but the focus of this episode will be 2000 trees and mainly the Clashfinder. You've picked up a bunch of questions for us that we can get through. But first, Lou's Brews, did you get your package?
Yes, thanks, Lou. You star. I did.
Why are you thanking him? Have you seen what's in it?
Is it because they're all mega hot?
So anyone who's on our
Is this for us
socials,
to do a challenge? Is it?
yes,
Oh,
that's
right.
it. Anyone who's on our socials, which now includes the Instagram page, please go and follow that if you haven't already. And then obviously the Facebook page we've got. I've seen a picture. Lou from Lou's Brews sent us 5 bottles each. They seem to go from the Sublime Damnation and a barbecue one to the ridiculous anal vomit nuclear hot sauce. And it had a note that said, "No excuses now. Best of luck, shaggers." So, I think at this point, yeah, challenge accepted. We've already recorded the Q&A, a drunken Q&A, which will go out next week. So that one will be for Q&A 4. We'll do the hot sauce challenge and see. And I'm not great. I like spice, but I'm not great with hot things. And I can see me reaching for the glass of milk pretty quickly.
We need a very tight rules around that. I mean, firstly, you could have asked me if I definitely wanted to do it, but I guess we're doing it now. We've got to have tight rules about the because it's all about volume. I've like that one, the creeper one that I said a couple of weeks ago is too hot. I've actually now I've got the measures right now.
Right.
I can put it on a sandwich without killing myself.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like, what is it, a teaspoon or what?
Mike can never do. You can never. You never do a teaspoon of anal vomit, could you?
Oh, God. Okay, great. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. So yes, the big man is still all over it. Please go and support him. losebrews.co.uk, pod 15. I noticed a post that went out yesterday before where a guy who was trying to convince, he said, "Oh, I've been trying to convince my wife to come to Damnation for years and she's still not there yet, but she's clearly been hearing me talk about the podcast because he'd get a delivery. So she must have went and bought him some hot sauces for Lou's Brews." So much more of that action, please. It's great to have him on board.
Absolutely. Do it. Buy it. Support him, please.
So will we do this? We'll do the Clashfinder questions. These rapid fire we don't even need to be rapid fire. However long, I'll ask them because they're all pretty much for you. So if I can chip in, I'll chip in. But otherwise, I'll ask the questions. You answer them.
Yeah, I've selected them so that some of them, the answers are going to be super short. We're not going to waffle on.
Okay. So, Will Perrin, how do acts tend to take it when they discover they're on at 10:30 a.m.?
Well, not amazingly, but I've usually made the offer. I've made it clear in the offer. You're in the opening slot, or you're in the opening slot, and it's 10:30. To be fair, at Trees, there's one slot at 10:30, and it's the smallest stage, and it's the only stage open. So you get a good crowd. So yeah.
And does that tend to be fear that no one's going to be there? That it's going to be like, oh, we're playing. Because bands will, as I just said, a lot of these bands get up at the crack of dawn to load in and stuff. So it's not like, oh, we just want a long line. Is that a case of, oh, we'd much rather be a couple of slots up just so we can get a big crowd in the tent?
Yeah, and just getting if everyone's had a few beers, the crowd are probably a bit more lively. It's, and actually one of the bands did complain about it this year after the Clashfinder came out. And because they've got bigger in the intervening period, and I was just like, well, there's nothing I can do about it at the moment. Until someone drops out, you can't move the lineup around, can you?
Aye. Clashfinder's king, as you say.
Absolutely, it really is.
Kevin Thompson asks, how much do you hate the bands that you decided to clash with a live podcast? And with a live podcast, it means us, two promoters, one pod. So who is it we're clashing with?
We are clashing with the Sleeping Souls, which is Frank Turner's. It's like the offshoot of Frank Turner's band. We are clashing with, I'm just having a look here, No Bro. I really want to see No Bro. Static Dress, Knife Bride, Sean McGowan. Yeah, I mean, I booked the band, so I kind of wanted to see all of those. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I've already said this, but when I was doing the Trees Clashfinder, I did move a couple of bands around because I'm like, we need to see those. Yes. I mean, you're not clashing with fucking Spanish love songs in the forest, are you? You basically, you can't clash with it.
No. For us sitting there, recommend and talk about Spanish love songs as a playing in another tent or a forest.
Exactly. And who's going to listen to us when Spanish love songs are on, frankly? But actually, the time of day that it is, because we weren't supposed to be having podcasts this year at 2000 Trees, we just kind of decided not to do it. They were a bit quiet in the mornings last year, and it felt like a bit of a waste of everyone's time. even though there was some really great content, it's just there wasn't a big audience for most of them, not all of them. And then suddenly there was just like this slot in the middle of the day, and me and you started a podcast, and it just started to be like, okay, yeah. So we got a really cool plan on the other days as well for a couple of other podcasts doing stuff, Mark and me and Sappenin. Yeah, actually, I think I've just broken an exclusivity with download there on Sappenin. Sorry.
We can bleep it out if we need to.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, so yeah, I do want to see all those bands. I really want to see No Bro, but we won't be watching them. What we are going to do though is we're going to drink a White Russian together, me and you, and we're going to watch a Nola Gay, which I think you might like them. They're kind of indie punk, like noisy, crazy indie punk band. They're on just before us. I've planned it, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be a wee bit nervous. I mean, you've become quite a professional at this. Like, calm, relaxed, ready to go. I'm like, for fuck's sake, we're just about to go up here. So, I'll come and watch me. I'll definitely think I won't rush me. I promise you that.
Lovely.
I'm talking of those brews. We'll need to get some sauces from them anyway for giveaways to the crowd or whoever asks the best question or whatever.
Oh yeah, good idea. Yeah,
I'm sure he'll be up for that. So we'll get some. Yeah. We'll get some for the table that I'm hoping will be provided for us and our towels.
Yeah, the towels are coming.
The towels are coming. Okay, Daniel Singleton. He's a chap that you might have seen cutting about Art Tangent last year, dressed in the multicoloured jacket. They ended up with Devin Townsend, I think. So he seems like he's been a big fan of the podcast for that. All the main, and is that Axiom?
Yeah.
Headliners don't clash this year. Last year they did. Some days. How do you make a choice on what stages to clash?
Yeah, so for anyone who's not been before, there are the three biggest stages at 2000 Trees is Main, then Axiom, then Cave. And basically, sometimes the Cave clashes with the main stage, sometimes the Axiom clashes with the main stage. And there is a safety element to this in that the Axiom is bigger. And if it's going to be the only stage open, you've got some of the crowd to go, whereas the Cave is smaller if you're packing more people into a smaller place. But, and we'll come on to this when we talk about the clashes, it is a lot of me looking at the main stage headliner and the Cave headliner and basically going, sorry, the Axiom main stage and Cave headliners, and just going, who do I want to clash here? And not personally, that is purely a decision made on who I think people will want to see. And as we'll come on to, everyone's complaining about those clashes. They are the clashes people are complaining about. But much like at Damnation, you get this, right? You've got your biggest bands of the day all converge at the end, don't they? So there will be you clash stage 1 and 3, do you, at the end?
It's got a clash stage 3 and 2. So because the Arena 1 is 6,000 capacity, so it could take every single person in the if they need to go there. So it's for the same reasons, is that? It's because where can you get, if there was to be 6,000 people there, where can you get them safely to? I mean, even that, obviously 6,000 people never go to anywhere at one time, but that's the reason that it works like that.
Yeah, so there'll be times when 3 and 2 is a horrible clash. I mean, didn't Maybeshewill and
in fact, when we're talking about Night of Salvation, so you're going to have this pelagic stage. It's going to be top to bottom bangers. I can't see there being a band in that pelagic stage, top to bottom, that you don't want to see. Now, the black metal stage is Arena 2, and I can almost guarantee out of the 5 bands, there's probably going to be 3 in that you want to see as well. So there's clashes right before you're only on Friday, and you've got the clashes to start. So, but how else do you play it? I mean,
and you don't, and when I'm a punter, I'm not wanting to half and half it really. I'm much more likely to want to watch a full set. But I think that's fine as long as you make the decision and go for it. You just enjoy yourself, don't you?
Yeah, as long as you enjoy yourself.
But so the answer to the question is it's a safety thing, but also a genre thing. I realise I can't please everyone, so sorry about that.
Okay, Tom Brumilo, how do you decide who plays the Forest? Examples, bands like Interlaker, Blanket, Grandson and Tigress all play electric sets, I assume. Were they chosen specifically for the Forest?
Yeah, those bands are playing electric sets. The thing is, the Forest is such a unique and like magical space, really. I'm just like gut feeling it. So with someone like Interlaker, I just thought this would be really cool in the Forest. Just they've got the sort of music, the sort of grand music that could work in there. Blanket was because I only have one slot available, and I shoved them in it. And actually, they've subsequently moved again now because I got a better slot available, and I pushed them to it. I didn't actually want Blanket in the Forest, so I've shoved them. They're on the new stage now, which is a better place for them, I think. Bands like Grandson and Spanish Love Songs, they're playing 2 sets. So ideally, if I had my way, there was a long list of bands that would be doing 2 sets of Trees. You know, Gaslight, Anthem, Manchester Orchestra. Frank Turner is doing it. Don Broco. You know, it's cool if you get the headliner into the Forest, you are onto a winner. We've had Enter Shikari in there. We've had 100 Reasons, and it's amazing. You get the place is packed. Everyone's just singing along, and yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if that's an answer. It's just a gut feeling for me. But I quite like putting in the evenings in the Forest something totally different. Something maybe more upbeat or a bit happier or more electronic or more hip hop. It's just some different stuff.
Seems like a very, I don't know, famous, because it's Talkie Horror we're talking about, but certainly a set by Talkie Horror that just looks like the greatest thing ever. Is that the Forest?
Yeah. I was actually in there watching that with my wife, and she was loving it. It was, it was a great set, really great set they played.
It looked it.
So yeah, when you get the Forest right, when there's a big crowd there, and there's the right band, it's like the best thing about 2000 Trees by far. It's just amazing. So I think Spanish Love Songs this year could be the one.
Okay, looking forward to it. There I am there.
Yep.
Daniel Mallet, who approaches who about doing 2 sets? For example, Spanish Love Songs doing a set earlier in the Forest. Was that the band that wanted to do it, or were they asked?
Well, I was trying to get them over when they weren't going to be in the UK. I was trying to sort of force the tour to happen. So I kind of offered the Forest as an extra carrot with some more money. But I think, because actually Tom that came on the podcast is their agent. I think it was probably Tom's idea. I was about to claim it, and then I was like, shit, he's listening. I give you that, Tom.
We've already lost one agent. Let's keep the rest of them on side.
But then most of the other big bands would be me driving it. So Frank Turner, and that sort of thing, Enter Shikari when they did it. It's really hard to convince people to do the Forest because you're totally like naked. There's nothing to hide behind your heart. You can't hide behind distortion or a wall of like overproduction. I mean, you can, but if you're going to come and do an acoustic set, if you're Frank Turner, it's just like your bread and butter. It's so easy for him to pick up an acoustic guitar and sing some songs. He's so good at it.
Yeah.
But if you're like a big main stage headliner like You Me at 6 or Don Broco, I'm just not sure that you really need the hassle of doing an acoustic set in the. Do you see what I mean? I think that's more scary than standing up.
Yeah, of course.
In front of a wall of amps. So
yeah. So but then you need to talk them into it as well. But some bands do fancy it.
Yeah.
Okay. Reese Hawk, you said in the pod that you don't like secret sets. I mean, don't say stuff in this pod, James, it gets held against you for the rest of the time. And to be announced. Then there's 3 of them on the Clashfinder. Can you see why you can't announce them yet? Are any hints of what they are?
No, I mean, that they're not secret sets. They're going to be announced. It's just they weren't ready to go. It's nothing. There's no like big thing here.
No Deftones.
It's yeah. It's just it was just some stuff we were trying to get over the line. I just want to clarify, I hate secret sets.
Okay.
He mentions TBAs in his question. No, the TBA is fine because that is true, right?
Yeah. Because it has to be announced. Yes, of course it is. Okay, Carol Rain, I'd be interested in understanding why there's bands in the silent disco form in the Forest this year. Last year's acts played until later into the night without this feature. Can you sell it to us, or for those who are a bit dubious?
I mean, I'm really excited. I will sell it to you, but I'm really excited about it. I don't understand. I think it's after a day of bands, this is going to be better because it's something different. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the Forest is quiet at night. So after 11 p.m, the music was turned down significantly to keep within our license. So now it won't be turned down, but you'll need headphones on, but they'll be able to play a full set. So I think you'll get a better experience. We've also booked much bigger, more established, well-known acts for those slots. And I think it's going to be a real party in there. So I really think it's going to be something different and something special. And when you combine the forest, the nighttime, the headphones, it's going to be like a totally unique experience. And I always thought that the forest in the evening was lacking something, largely because of the volume. So,
Right.
look, Carl, come back to me if that ends up being bollocks. But I think just go for it, get your headphones and get down there.
Yeah, it sounds like a good sale. Good sale.
I tried.
Matt Archer Davies, how do you feel about bands who've headlined the festival previously coming back and playing lower down the bill? How do you broach that with bands? Have you ever had a conversation with a band who refused to play lower down the bill, having headlined trees before? It's hard to imagine Shikari, Jimmy Eat World coming back and playing lower down the bill, but You Make Six, Def Havana, and now Frank Turner have done this.
Well,
Interesting
look,
question,
the
Mr. Matt.
festival started at 1,000 capacity and is now at 15,000 capacity. So if I'm not saying it's going to, but let's say in 10 years' time it's 30,000 capacity and Queens of Stone Age are headlining it, then Jimmy Eat World will be happy to play under Queens of Stone Age. I'm going to guess, right?
Yeah.
So that's really all that's happened is that, yes, You Me at Six were a 2000 Trees headliner, but they did agree to play underneath Idols that year because Idols were hot as fuck that year. They were, and yes, Def Havana have headlined 2000 Trees and last year played below Frank Carter and 100 Reasons. And it's really all about if your headliners are getting bigger, the people that previously headlined will drop slightly down the bill. I don't think it's really necessarily a fair. That's not a fair reflection on Frank Turner though, as an example, because they do mention Frank Turner in this question, who's playing second from top this year. He just sold out Alexandra Palace in like a day.
I mean, that's incredible.
I mean, it's fucking amazing.
I knew he was big, but I never knew he was selling Alexandra Palace in a day big.
Yeah. So, and Don Broco, who are playing above him, have done a 4 or 5 day arena tour last year. So, these they're big bands. So I think it's all a negotiation with any given agent, and it's all about how many tickets can you sell. And to be honest, if I was talking to Frank Turner's agent now, after he's just sold out Alexandra Palace, I've probably been having a different conversation with him, and he would have been maybe said some different things. I don't know, but yeah, it's the music industry is fluid. How popular you are at any given time is going up and down a little bit. So
yeah. I remember when Raging Speed on headlined the very first Damnation in 2005. In 2019, they opened the main stage. You know what I mean? It's like it's not that Raging Speed on have changed much significantly over the years. Raging Speed on just Raging Speed on, but by 2019, your bands are Opeth and Mayhem are playing that stage. So it's not. You're not messing about with these kind of bands that are selling thousands of tickets when they play, or they're used to being so far up the bills, especially in Europe. So, it's not to say that there's anything about the bands per se. It's just the festivals themselves have getting significantly bigger.
Exactly, and I see it at Arctangent a lot, and there are some bands at Arctangent that have previously headlined that would not play below anyone else. So those bands we either won't book again, or if you look at the size of headliners Arctanger's got this year, Mogwai, Meshuggah, and Explosions, it's significantly bigger than some of the ones in the past. But some of those will dig their heels in, and they just see themselves as a headliner. That's their brand, and they're never going down the lineup. So
yeah. I mean,
it's all a negotiation.
And fair play to them if that's the how they view it. So 2000 Trees, the Clashfinder, that Tangent one, there was all sorts of chaos. You were getting accused of all sorts of negligence.
It ruined everyone's weekend.
He ruined everyone's weekend and year. But the Trees one seemed a bit more gentle. It seemed, when I had to look through it, I mean, there was complaints, obviously, and we're just about getting to some of them, but is that your overall perception of it, that people understood it a bit better?
I don't know, really. I think it was gentle in a sense. I think there was people were expecting me to change. I think there was more expectation at Trees that you will go and change this. What the fuck do you mean, Gaslight, Anthem, and Better Lovers clash? You will go and change this,
right? Which
is never really, as you know, that wasn't really on the cards. So I feel like there's a less. The clash complaints are much more concentrated at Trees. There's like 4 or 5, were the ones. Whereas at Arctangent, people are into their stupid music, aren't they? And they're like, you know, how dare you clash this neo folk act with this progressive black metal band? But at Trees, you don't quite get that. I think there are different audiences of people that aren't always overlapping, so you can get away earlier on in the day. But
so talk me through. Let's start. We'll go chronological order and start with the Thursday. So what ones did you get grief for about the Thursday?
So you know, we talked a minute ago about the big three stages. So you've basically got Gaslight, Anthem, Hot Mulligan, and Better Lovers are the three headliners on those three stages. So two of them have got a clash. So I have to choose between Better Lovers and Hot Mulligan on who clashes with Gaslight Anthem. Now, you could, if I could have done this, I would have. If I could do a poll on Facebook and ask people's opinion, I would. Yeah. But the agents are not going to like it. You can't do that. It doesn't look professional. It just looks like I don't know how to do my job. So ultimately, I ask who I ask. I get advice off people, and I listen to the bands, and I think that Better Lovers clashing with Gaslight Anthem genre-wise is a better clash than Hot Mulligan. The problem is, of course, if you're a bit older, then you're more likely to like Better Lovers and Gaslight Anthem, and I maybe didn't appreciate that. So, but I'm not putting my hand up and saying it was a mistake, but I do understand people being pissed off about that. And then it kind of went on to like, there's a band called Los Campesinos, which I'm going to recommend you check out, Gav. They're on the Forest, and they're clashing with Hot Mulligan, and their fans are like, must be 15 years age difference, but it turns out that people seem to be saying it's a similar thing, but 15 years later, which I'm like, I don't get it, but apparently I fucked that one up as well. So, you know, sorry. But here's a real breaking news. I clashed Sean McGowan and the Sleeping Souls. And I think what happened is Sean McGowan was added really late on, and I didn't realize what I'd done. They have just done a co-headline tour together.
Right.
So do they have the same fan base? Well, they fucking just toured the UK co-headlining.
Absolutely.
So as soon as I saw it, I was like, you're an idiot. So I have, Gav, breaking news, changed the Clashfinder to get rid of that clash. So for probably the first time ever, I've listened to people and I've made the changes because that was stupid.
And was that easy enough to do? Could you do that without creating any new chaos? When we're saying breaking news, as 2000 Trees fans about to find out what the new clash is going to be?
No, I don't. I think, well, there's some subtle changes to the Forest stage times on that day, but actually, the reason for it was I had this amazing set in the bag, which was a longer set, and it didn't come. It was one of those TBAs, and it didn't happen, right? So when it didn't happen, I booked a more normal size band and gave them a normal size set, and it shrunk everyone. So suddenly, Sean McGowan just came 20 minutes earlier in the day, and the clash went away.
Good.
So.
And were you getting? I never saw people talk about that clash, but were you getting that? Are you an idiot? These two bands have just toured together, like in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, that is like not great on my part. But I spent days doing that Clashfinder, but it was just he was a late addition, and I just didn't. I did look at the clash, I just didn't make the connection. I knew they'd toured together.
One that I did see that was quite prevalent on the Friday was, and one that I would probably be if I was still there, but the Friday, Bob Vylan and Palm Reader. I mean, I assume you find that's a hard clash for you to take as well.
Yeah. Because we have these bands that I consider like 2000 Trees bands, right? They're like the core that I book a lot, and Palm Reader have been that band for years, and Bob Vylan are the new version of that, and it's Palm Reader's last ever show. But unfortunately, those two stages clash, and Palm Reader are second from top of that stage, and Bob Vylan are second top of the main. Neither of them, I didn't ask them to move, but neither of them would have wanted to.
A great slots, just unfortunate. But then it was Bob Vylan or someone else who was going to be just as big as Bob Vylan clashing with Palm Reader this season. That clash is going to be horrible regardless. Yeah,
I just think people, if you're a Trees hardcore person, you probably do want to see both of those. And like, for me, that's like the worst, pretty much the worst clash of the whole thing for me. I mean, Kevin Ashburn actually asked a question: how hard did you find it placing Palm Reader on the Clashfinder, knowing it would be their final show? Which kind of says it all. Which is basically like, no one wants to clash with Palm Reader because it's their final show. We all want to go, and I'm going to have a big cry at the side of the stage. You know, it's going to be an epic finish. But I'll probably start at Bob Vylan and end at Palm Reader. I think will be what I will do. But if you're an audience member, don't do that. Pick one.
Make your pick.
And go for it. Yeah.
Your pick.
Yeah.
I mean, Palm Reader does deserve a big send off, don't they? They're one of those great bands that probably never got the recognition deserved. Although, do you know what? Do you feel like 2000 Trees, and this is an episode dedicated to 2000 Trees fan base, but we haven't penetrated that fan base the same way we have with Damnation and Art Tangent for this podcast. And there might be a few reasons for that. I mean, our musical tastes probably don't sway in the direction of 2000 Trees the way they do with the other two events, and we made a deliberate decision to have it two promoters, one pod, and then only mention two of the festivals, Art Tangent and Damnation, at the bottom, because we didn't want it to look confusing, two promoters, one pod, and then mention three festivals for someone who was new to it and never knew who you were or why there would be three there. So that's the reason that Trees wasn't at the bottom of that. But do you feel... I've done that thing again when I've started that question and fucking completely forgot why I was asking. I swear to God, I'm better with a drink. I'm honestly better with a drink. Aye, that was it, because you're talking about Palm Reader. So I was on the forum the other day, your group, your official group, and I noticed something like, why has no one mentioned Vower? Why has no one mentioned this band? It's amazing. I've just found out reading the bit. It was like, clearly, because I was waiting, like, there was 10 replies. There's like one of these replies. If that was on Damnation Art Tangent, within the first reply, it'd be like two promoters, one pod. James recommended it. Gav slagged them off because he never even had a fucking tune out. Listen to the podcast. But it was 10 replies that was like, oh, you're right, it's a guy for Palm Readers. But it was clearly, we are not getting the same sort of traction with the 2000 Trees audience, despite it being fucking almost 3 times the size of Damnation. So do you get that feeling as well, that for whatever reason we've just not got through to the Trees fan base?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit. Or not, there's definitely people listening, but just maybe not as many. I don't know if it's because the fan base is younger, maybe. I don't know if that's if podcasts is a thing, or they don't want to listen to two 45-year-olds. Sorry, you're not 45 yet, are you?
I look every bit 45, so I'll take it, mate. In some cases, I take 45 as a compliment.
Amazing. Yeah, but we'd love to have more people listening, and you know, it's like 2000 Trees is like my babies. Like, it's just 17 years it's been part of my life. So yeah, I think it will grow and grow, and hopefully this episode will connect with more people.
I hope so. And if it doesn't, you're getting nothing else. Getting Trees will never mention that. Damnation Art Tangent only for the rest of the time. Aye. So anything else on the Friday that's been?
I mean, I thought it was quite funny that there's quite a lot of people complaining about the Chats versus Empire State Bastard, which is, I mean, it blows my mind even more than any of the Arctangent Clash complaints did, because that is not.
Is that the equivalent? Is that your Talkie Horror and Amun Ra clash?
Yeah. I mean, it's just not a clash. I mean, it's like a, you know, punk band versus a fucking weird, fucking horrible, crazy
noise rock. And that's just the product of two very popular bands, is that it's not about you saying, oh, how could you clash that death metal with death metal? It's just you're putting two very popular bands there, and there's a likelihood you're going to get some fans who would like to see both bands.
Yeah. But you know, that's fine. I think that's fine. And that clash, I am totally refuting anyone being.
You're not having it.
Upset about that. I'm not having it. No.
You're having it in the final day. Do you get through that unscathed?
Yeah. There's just 2 clashes on that. I mean, so Don Broker and Wargasm both headlining stages. Again, I actually asked Wargasm if they wanted to move, and they said no. So fair play to Wargasm. They're like, no, we can clash with the main stage headliner, which I really like that. And I'm sure they'll get a really good crowd. But they didn't want to drop down. And that's cool. And then Frank Turner and Lonely the Brave is a real 2000 Trees favourites thing again. But again, it's exactly the same as Palm Reader and Bob Vylan. It's top. They're the second from top on those 2 stages. They clash. Who wants to move lower? Nobody. again, I didn't actually give them the choice, but I'm certain that they wouldn't have wanted to go down the lineup. So, that one was actually my number one that I didn't want to happen. When I said to Mitch when I was going through it, I was like, fucking hell, Frank Turner and Lonely the Brave just feels just like glaringly wrong thing to happen. But we're there. It's not an easy thing. Not an easy thing to do.
I hate a clash, like with my own clash. I mean, like you actually put it in the paper, and then you're doing mental gymnastics. Like, but we could move that to, and then you're looking across the stage. But those guys are great too. And again, it's like fucking post rock band and a grindcore band, so it's not a clash. But you're just like, I personally, and I know that there's that Damnation fans that are just going to see it and go, how could you? I mean, again, we'll hark back for the rest of the time. Maybeshewill and Anil Nathrak is not in anyone's eyes a legitimate clash of styles, but believe me, that is a clash of bands that you want to see, and that was that one. I remember even thinking, cause I went to the agent at the time, and I was like, what do you want? Because clashing with Nathrak's is a tough sell at Damnation, and it was like there was maybe open to, but then even when I sort of gently hinted at it in the forum, because you're right, see with these things with the poll, you can't go to the general public. You might think, oh, there's an easy solution to all this. Just take all this to your communities. The agents are not going to like that. They're not going to want. They don't want a public opinion piece on their bands. They don't. That's probably why the one agent who doesn't like this podcast. People want to hold all the marbles. They want all the information themselves. They don't want to hear it. They certainly don't want promoters talking to each other about fees. They don't want to hear about fucking who's selling what in each area. They want all that information. So people like you and I and the fans go into it blind, and they've got all the power. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, it really is. Well, look, I'm looking forward to grilling the hell out of you when we get round to Damnation, because I am a Clashfinder geek, so I will have listened to every single band before we do that, and I will have my pen out, and I'll be ready.
They're pretty straightforward at Damnation, to be fair. I mean, come on, it's like, and this is. I mean, I definitely would never have clashed Bob Vylan and Pam Readers, right? Okay, cheese listeners.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Frank Turner and Lonely the Brave. You clashed those two. I've never even heard of Lonely the Brave.
Amazing. You'll be in Mexico by then, mate, won't you?
Get me excited, man. Get me excited. Tell me about what we're looking forward to. What's the best run? What's happening when we get there?
Well, so I mean, do you want me to get you excited about the days you're there, or do you want me to tell you about what? I mean,
I prefer you get me excited about the days you're there, and then once I log off, you can tell everybody else what was happening.
Well, basically Wednesday. So my band recommendation for you for Wednesday is the Excerpts, Scottish band, mate. Are you familiar with the Excerpts?
The name. I feel like I should have done, because I find when I come across the your Idlewild and Frightened Rabbits and Arab Strap. Now tell me about Arab Strap.
Yes, mate.
That new album is so good, right? And I saw them in this wee thing called the Spiegel Tent in Paisley, just the two of them doing an acoustic set last year or the year before. And it was incredible. And I'm like, what a band these guys are. And then it got me thinking, because that's all I do now, is thinking about what James booked them. And it's like, where do they fit? Because they're fucking two old Scottish guys. I mean, they sound weird enough they could actually play Arctangent. And they sound good enough they could play Trees, but is it one of those ones you can play? Because I don't think an Arab Strap listener's then going to listen to Hot Mulligan. No.
So I am thinking about them for Arctangent for next year. I think I might have asked on our forum, would it work? I really, really like their last album.
Yeah.
Their new one I've only listened to once, and I will go in deep on. But their last album's fucking brilliant. I think it's just so unusual, the music, that it would work at Arctangent.
I think it would. When it was mentioned, because I think it was like every week in the forum it gets mentioned when new albums are out, and I said, I'm looking forward to hearing Arab Strap, and there was a lot of comments like, it's annoying that they wouldn't get booked for Damnation, because they would even work at Damnation. Like, this guy up there, that old Scottish guy in his sandals, fucking doing spoken word pretty much over the music, you know what I mean? And it's like they're great, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they're one of the bands that just sort of slip between the cracks of both James's festivals.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they'd work at both. I think good shout, mate. So the Excerpts, right?
Yeah, sorry.
because of the stuff that I now am getting to realise that you do actually like quite a lot of bands with melody and stuff. And have you ever? I think you could argue you've not really been to 2000 Trees unless you've seen the excerpts of 2000 Trees, because they are the 2000 Trees band in a way. It's probably the one. So the excerpts in the forest will be fucking amazing. Everyone will be singing their head off. Be careful if you go and listen to them beforehand. We need to get you the right album suggested, because they've done quite a lot of different stuff over the years. But yeah, Wednesday night, the excerpts. And we're going to watch Cody Frost in the forest doing the silent disco, because that will be, well, it'll be me shitting myself because it's the first silent disco live thing. But also it'll be interesting and different.
Good. I mean, the excerpts, I feel like I've let those guys down by not already being aware. So I am definitely going to be checking them out. And I feel like you've got enough of a clue about what's going on with my taste in this world now that they're probably hitting nail on the head with that one. So great. And then Cody Frost is one you've mentioned before. So definitely there'll be a wee bit of studying closer to the time about, because I don't want to go down there and then fly back up the road and like, shit, missed that band that was looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think musically you will find more stuff on the Wednesday. On the Thursday for you that you'll like. The Wednesday, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's not up your street, I would say. But yeah, I definitely think have a go at the excerpts. But on Thursday, obviously you got Spanish Love Songs twice, you got Manchester Orchestra, you got Better Lovers, you got Meryl Streep. So, and you've got us fucking live on stage. So you got a busy day there already.
Yes.
And you'll have been to bed at 8 a.m. on the Wednesday night.
No. Mate, well, put it this way. I am wherever you are, right? So if you're going to do what you done to me in Bristol and get tucked up into your bed before maybe we'll finish the encore, then I'm going to be tucked up in my bed. So if you want to go 8 a.m., mate, let's go.
I'm a sort of 2 a.m. on the Wednesday night, and then 3 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and then 6, 7 a.m. Saturday. That's basically my usual festival thing, but we'll see. But I've got a couple of others to recommend. So I mentioned Enola Gay earlier on. They're playing, well, that's our White Russian band. There's a thrash band playing at 11 a.m. called Overpower. So that's like Gav's tops off. He hasn't been to bed yet from Wednesday night. And the other one, I really want you to go and check out Los Campesinos, because they are much, much more of an indie band. So they fit with a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
That you talk about. Now, to be honest, they're quite Marmite. So I don't know if you like them. People either seem to love them or not like them. But they played Trees way back, like over 10 years ago, and they've just got back together. So that's my recommendations for you. The one thing that you're not going to be there for, but I think is the best run of the festival, is Blood Command into Palm Reader and Bob Vylan, into Thumpersaurus, into Empire State Bastard. That's my run of the festival, where that's a bit of like a left field choice, without just going, oh, go and watch all the headliners.
Yeah.
It's like, that is a good fun time. Blood Commander fun, Bob Vylan's fun, Thumpersaurus is fun.
And we've chatted in the past, definitely on the Damnation Versus episodes, where you're always like, if I could just get Mike Patton to the festival, if I could just get Chino Marino to the festival, if I could just get Simon Neil to the festival, then he would experience it and I'd be like, come on. But what we're saying to Biffy Clyro. So has the arm been round the shoulder yet?
Yeah. So he came to Trees so he was at Trees and Arctangent last year. So I went, and I know Mike Van Aert relatively well, who's in the band, obviously. It's his band, really. So I went to say hello to Mike. He introduced me to Simon, and Mike said to me that he'd been saying to Simon, Biffy, you've never been here, but this is 2000 Trees is your festival. This is your audience. They love you here. And Simon was so happy and smiley that day, and he really, really loved it. And when I met him, he said to me, "Why have we never played 2000 Trees?" And I'm like, fucking hell. So, then I talked to his manager and his agent, and it's just quite a difficult thing to make work. There is music industry stuff, where Biffy are a big band. If it was just me and Simon, he'd be like, "Fuck it, let's just come and play."
I mean, end of
it was 50 quid.
The headline download, don't it? The headline down. So you're a bit like, right, okay, because he's this affable Scottish guy who probably does have a fuck it attitude, who's a in a band with a guy who's very friendly with Art Tangent and Mike Venner, it's a bit like, oh, you know what? There's a dirty dream element about it, but you put that in the context of any other. Like, are we saying Bring Me a Horizon to headline Art Tangent? No, we're not. Are we saying Tool to play either? If no, we're not. I mean, never mind when you get into your Metallica's, Iron Maidens. These bands are clearly bands that are designed to play 80,000 capacity events. So yeah, well, you really need to strike gold and hit a nerve that. I mean, even the band would need to fight their case to their agents.
And I think there's just, I'm reading between the lines here, but big bands have strategies on how they're going to maintain their success and all sorts of things. And suddenly doing a favor to play a small festival is not really on that list of things you should do. And so I get it, to be honest. And to be honest, he was so nice. And I have a bunch of, I meet a lot of bands, as you do, at the festivals, and often you end up saying to them, "Oh, hey man, I don't know if you remember me. You played 2 years ago, and we met." And they're like, "Oh yeah." And you're thinking they don't fucking. But Simon came to Art Tangent, and I was walking through the backstage, the main stage, and he was like, "Hey James, how you doing?" And it's like, what? He's like this guy's a like legitimate actual rock star, and he's taken the time to remember my name and just be like nice, friendly dude. And I think that's pretty cool.
By all accounts, that's all I've ever heard about Biffy Clyro. The three of them, they're just down to earth.
Yeah, so I haven't given up, and do you know what? I think I was thinking about this the other day. Do you think this is a good idea? I probably shouldn't ask you this in front of the world, but I was going to write him a letter this year and leave it in his dressing room, and I'm going to tell him why he should play 2000 Trees. What do you reckon, Gav? Yes or no?
Reckon how many? Because you started this episode with telling me that an agent and that doesn't like us, and it's been sitting in the back of my head for the full hour or so. And now you come up with more reasons to get people in the industry to follow it with us. So you do, James. You do you, mate. As the kids say, you do.
Okay. Deal. I shall do that.
Swiftly moving on. So, in fact, sorry, I'm not cutting it unless there's anything else you want to say about Trees. I feel like you've sold them very well. I am buzzing about going to Trees. Just seeing its progression from, was it 2012? Was it wet year 2012 or 13?
Yeah, 12.
12. So, so the last time I was 12 years ago. To see how it's gone to see your brother, that's always a fun time. And spend a couple of hours just ripping at you is always a good fun time. The podcast, but nervous about it. You seem, I don't know how this dynamic has changed to a way that you're more confident about the podcast than I am, but you seem to feel that people are going to come and listen to it. So let's see. I mean, if we can get folk to listen to 2000 Trees, Art Tangent should be a scream. So aye.
At some point, we should ask people what they want us to talk about, because that is unclear to me as to what we're going to talk about. We keep being like, "Yay, we're gonna do this live on stage." Okay.
Hey, magic. So, on the record, what have you got for us this week?
I'm not going to recommend a 2000 Trees band because I've spoken about a million of them. I'm going to actually recommend a band that is playing Damnation.
Oh, good.
And that band is Duel, and I would be recommending this band whether or not they were playing Damnation, because I really love this album. It came out about a month ago. They are, annoyingly, the single hardest band to describe in the fucking universe. And like, I honestly, I can't do it. And I've read a few reviews, and no one seems to actually be able to explain what they sound like. So I'm just going to have a really shit go at it. But I feel like if you had like it's like a perfect circle crossed with like some sort of like 70s or 80s, almost like hard rock, but with like loads of alt rock to make it cooler than shitty, uncool hard rock. And then, and it's progressive. It's like interesting, but there's like, it's got like Maynard, at times Maynard-esque vocals. There's like fucking proper guitar solos. It's like really classy in sound, great songs, progressive. It sounds immaculate. The production's fucking amazing. There's a song on it, Gav, I know you like to know about songs. There's a song called The Shape of Fluidity, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the single best song been released this year. It's just like a world beater, an absolute. So, I mean, if it's not coming across, I really like this.
Big words, James. So here we go.
I really like this album, and the vocalist he really hooks me in the same way that Hex Vessel hooked me in, Creeper hooked me in, Grave Pleasures. Those vocalists that have like, they can properly sing, but it's not like some shitty, cheesy thing. He's got a voice. So I'm like, I really like Dool's last album. That was in my top 10 of the year when that came out. But I like this one more. Never seen him live. So I'm well excited for Damnation.
This is the one. This is one. Brilliant. Well, the song of the year. I'm definitely into that. Okay, good stuff. I'm going to go with LLNN, which I think is pronounced Lun or Lun. So, how would you describe it? Talking about bands, this is a band that just no one really knows how to describe them other than crushingly heavy. So they just get put into somewhere between sludge and hardcore, which you get a wee bit, but they're neither really. I mean, they don't feel like sludge when you're listening, and they don't feel like hardcore. They feel like huge rocks crashing into the space station. That's what it feels like. It feels like if you imagine the Earth not being covered in water and trees and soft land, but just mountains, and then rocks hitting the Earth. That's what LLNN sound like. It's it just blankets you in noise. It's everywhere because it seems to have this. It's almost like the reason that I'm saying it's not that like sludge because it doesn't have that sludgy New Orleans style. Like it's quite crisp and metallic. It's almost got that. Sounds like there's a film score for some sci-fi film and going on in the background, and he's just pounding riffs that just don't stop, and then the vocals are screaming at you in top. So, that's my attempt at trying to describe it. Well, that was good. If you imagine mountains colliding with mountains, they sound a bit like that with some sci-fi score at the back. So they're getting wildly popular. I mean, my Damnation sidekick, he's been into them forever. I remember him talking about LLNN years back. You had them play Art Tangent years back as well. So I saw them play like the 11 a.m. slot and like your fourth tent at some point, which is not what you want to wake up to with a hangover. So it's not like I'm exposing, especially yourself and Paul, to anything new needed. But for a lot of people, it's only been in the last year they've really getting them. Then they done that show at the Dome, and it just blew people's minds. And then it was about like, there's something here. This isn't just your usual, or there's a great band, and then within 6 months it sort of fizzles out. These guys are, this Danish band have got something that's just uniquely heavy. And playing the Wednesday at Tangent, and then now playing the Friday at Damnation. So how you feel that description done them justice?
I thought it was great. I mean, they've really got their own thing going, haven't they? They're not easily compared to other bands.
No,
they're doing their own. They're ploughing their own furrow, and it's like weirdly catchy given how crushingly heavy it is. Some of their songs have got real proper groove to them.
Yeah, which is why I suppose I need to recommend a track. And the one that I picked, I almost went full James there. The one that I picked is Obsidian. Now, I don't even know if it's the best track on the latest album, Unmaker, but it's the one that's got that riff that's just like exactly as you described it. You can be crushingly heavy, but it just like it can take a bit. It can be dense. This seems quite easy to get into, despite how heavy it is. Because and it's in that way you're like, fucking yes, here we go. So it's brilliant. I'm getting myself quite excited to talk about it. So they're a band to definitely be checking out at Art Tangent, and then again at Night of Salvation. So that's been. I feel like we covered a lot there, James.
Yeah, we did. We've been around, but yeah, it was good. Always enjoyed it.
Next week we will. Fuck knows what we're going to be talking about the topic, but we do have a drunken Q&A to go out afterwards. I'm just going to go through that and make sure we don't go too far off in the tangent. Do not want to be upset this unnamed
serious trouble.
Right, mate. Until next week.
Thanks, mate.